Guys, Jet Setting Jen here. Today it's time for some real talk. So, if you're like me and in your mid to late 30s or even early 40s, and you're thinking, well, Jen, I want to keep traveling, but what do I do with all my stuff? Well, today's video is for you because we are going to be talking about travelers who also maintain a household. So, your first question might be, how did we get here? Well, if you know anything about my background, I've been traveling extensively for quite a long time now, even when I've had to pay rent. So, this past year, we were kind of looking over our finances, my husband and I. I'm recently married, for those of you who don't know. I've been married about 2 years now, and I've been with my husband for about seven total between us dating and being married. So, because of that, of course, over time, we've acquired a lot of things. We've acquired four animals, we've acquired furniture, clothing, shoes, you name it. So, if you're anything like us, you're probably in the same boat. So, what we kind of decided was if we can continue traveling and it's less than our mortgage, and also paying rent is becoming more than our mortgage would be, this is why we ultimately decided to buy. So now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what you can do to make sure that this is the right decision for you as well. So we live in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. So anyone who's familiar knows that the housing market has exploded over the past, I don't know, 4 to 6 years. It used to be very, very inexpensive here to buy. Just a lot of people didn't do it. And now the housing prices had during COVID, I would say doubled and tripled even in some areas. So it was becoming very expensive. So of course this was pushing a lot more people to rent. But nowadays that's not the case anymore. So I'm not sure if this is happening in your cities. You guys can comment below if it is. But what we noticed was that when we started looking for houses, the interest is not great, right? Our interest rates are pretty high right now in the US for those of you watching from there. However, the housing costs are going down and rent is still increasing. So, our complex, for example, in Capel, Texas, we're going to raise our rent personally $100 a month, which obviously, if you also rent, you know how crazy this is. When you first maybe got an apartment and it was 14 or $1,500 a month, and now it's 17, 18, 1900, for some people even $2,000 a month for that same apartment with no change in services or amenities. So this is ultimately why we decided to go this direction. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, how can you still travel, Jen, even with a mortgage? So that's what we're getting into next. So, as many of you know, I am a basically an entrepreneur. I have my own travel business and I'm an independent contractor for an agency. So, what that means is I can work remote or from wherever I am. And sometimes travel agents can get special deals as far as like discounted rates, but this is not always the case. And I also want you guys to understand that it's definitely not in the airline field. Unless you work for an airline, you're never getting a severe discount or free air ever. Okay, so I just want to point that out. Unless, or if you have miles, because I did used to have a lot of miles. So this also helped me, of course, travel longer, travel further, travel more often, but definitely still not for free because you do have to pay taxes and fees. But what I will say is if you play your cards right, as far as having a high yield savings account, having high interest checking accounts or savings accounts, if you have CDs that are paying you interest, if you're invested in the stock market or something else which is paying you dividends, there are definitely other ways that your money can make money and you can continue traveling, even when your mortgage is costing you almost the same as your rent. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing I want to touch on is how some people look at buying a house as they want to look at what everyone else is doing and then they want to do it as well. So, the first thing I want to say is if you don't want to maintain a house, if you don't want to deal with taxes, if you don't want to deal with mowing a lawn or being responsible for fixing things around a house that break, owning a house is not for you. And that's totally fine. Totally fine. I'm just letting you guys know that from a traveling perspective, to own a house, if it ends up being less than the cost of your rent, then I definitely think financially that you can swing owning a house just like we were able to. So, for those of you that are still on the fence about traveling versus putting that money towards a down payment on a house, here are some tips and tricks about how you can do it. First of all, don't put down 20%. Okay. In this economy, we don't really need to. If you're okay paying a little bit more PMI on your mortgage, then you can save that money, keep it in an interest bearing account, continue doing traveling. And also, what I would recommend is, as far as your traveling goes, book the trips either yourself or book cruises. Book things that you can kind of keep control of the full cost amount on versus just winging it and booking a flight and then going somewhere when you really could have did it for half the price. Does that make sense? That is definitely how we're going to be traveling now for the next couple years. Hey guys, as always, thanks so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. And if you guys have any questions or got some value from this video, please go ahead and leave a comment, DM me, or feel free to email me at my business email in the description box below so we can work together. See you next Friday.